Radical political thinker and statesman Thomas Jefferson once said of his own election to the presidency that it was as real a revolution in the principles of our government as that of '76, was in its form not affected indeed by the sword as that, but by the peaceable and rational instrument of reform, the suffrage of the people. I stand before you today as a member of the global revolutionary Occupy movement. We are political insurgents, the modern-day Minutemen of these tyrannical times. That said, is it such a surprise that so many of us are boycotting the election this fall? Many are convinced that a vote for the lesser evil is still a vote for evil. Many see a vote for Romney, both of whom are extensively funded by the very Wall Street banks and corporations against we stand, as a vote for violent oppression of peaceful dissent in other countries, but silence when peaceful protesters at home are hospitalized or imprisoned. Many see a vote for Obama as a vote for drone strikes, for oppressive and unconstitutional legislation, such as the National Defense Authorization Act and the Patriot Act, for the continued collusion between Washington and Wall Street, and a vote for Mr. Romney, Mr. 1% himself, as revolutionaries campaigning for him, assured that this man's presidency will prove absolutely apocalyptic, making conditions in this country so dire as to bring the revolution. Democracy is not defined by the choice between Apple or Android, Walmart or Target, Coke or Pepsi. True democracy involves making significant decisions. Our country, often touted as a flagship nation, an example to the rest of the world when it comes to democracy, is nothing but an oligarchic plutocracy, and a state that preferred Santorum, yet will undoubtedly cast a vote for Romney this fall. We must question the legitimacy of an election that provides voters a limited and poorly representative selection of candidates. Most of these individuals, for all their Republican rhetoric and Democratic dogma, may as well be wearing the corporate logos of their true constituents on the suits they wear. Restricted ballot access has Oklahoma's voters trapped between a donkey and an elephant. In our struggle, we have frozen in the parks, endured police brutality and illegal arrests, lost friends, homes, and jobs. We have not invoked the social contract simply to vote for politicians bought and paid for by the very powers that are, as Grover Norquist says, dragging democracy into the bathtub and drowning it as we speak. A revival of democracy can only come from the people. It cannot come from any certain corporation. It will not arise from any new politician. Within the Occupy movement, we practice a horizontal, participatory, direct democracy, quite unlike the vertical organization of the Republicrats, who so systematically have crushed dissent within their own parties. We strive to find common good, seeking out those areas where we are able to come to consensus and focusing our energy on them. Consensus for us does not involve the wheeling and dealing of politicians, does not involve promising a vote for or against this or that in exchange for support on a pet issue. It does not involve advocating an agenda outside parties that have paid for the privilege of having an elected official as their personal errand boy. It is a process that involves identifying problems, and collectively coming up with solutions, and then working together to solve them. In this manner, we have retaken millions from the big banks, saved countless homes, and set numerous cases of legal precedents, expanding First Amendment rights across the country. There is a major consensus in this country among people of all political persuasions on a variety of issues. But these issues are not even brought up for discussion during campaign season, which leaves control of the political discourse in the hands of the Democrats and the Republicans. Third-party candidates are not only denied access to the ballot, they are refused the option to speak to the American people by the mainstream media, and robbed of access to the presidential debates. As Washington warned, instead of diverse dialogue, we are treated to a staged circus of political puppets seeking office on the ruins of public liberty. How do I vote to end American war? Who will end the extremely counterproductive war on drugs? Which candidate will eradicate the abominable for-profit prison system? What savior will oppose the free trade agreements that enrich multinational corporations while hurting workers both here at home and abroad? Which entrenched corporate-sponsored political party can we count on to overturn Citizens United and corporate personhood and stop the doctrine of money as speech? What individual do I vote for to end the out-of-control surveillance state? Which of them is going to end the collusion between Washington and Wall Street and shut the revolving door between Capitol Hill and K Street? Where is the elected official that will empower the people? Restrictive ballot access laws prevent those without the political clout of the two major parties with the enormous financial resources from offering to represent the people in governance. Our ballots serve not the public interest, but the interests of those who pay to shape them. Selling an election does not buy good governance. In order to ensure economic and social opportunity, we need legitimate representation. Restrictive ballot access laws contribute largely to not only a lack of real representation for we the people, but also to societal stagnation and governmental gridlock. In a Gallup poll from last month, 28% of responders registered as Republicans, 32 as Democrats, and 38 as independents. Almost 40% of our population is not represented by our all but exclusively Republican and Democratic Congress. This is 42% of our representatives and 67% of our senators in D.C. are millionaires. This is certainly not the case among everyday Americans. Roughly half of the American population is comprised of women, but less than a fifth of them are represented on Capitol Hill. People of color and people not holding Christian religious beliefs are poorly represented as well. This lack of proper representation for the vast majority of Americans is not what democracy looks like. This is why we must make radical changes to our electoral system and end minority rule of the masses. America is a nation founded on the hope that democracy can work. In the twilight of an age, when money moguls and partisan patsies threaten to once again become the law barons of this land, we, the many, the marginalized, ask for a new vision of society in America. A vision that gives a voice to the voiceless. As Americans, we have an inherent responsibility to honor the Constitution, a document once described as living that is now in dangerous need of resuscitation. We know that we can evolve into a society where all men and women are created equally, where all voices weigh the same regardless of class or creed. A nation where there is true liberty and justice for all. We must remember the ideals of our forebears. We must demand a Jeffersonian revolution. Thank you.